So happy Sunday to you, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Facing the Facts. Our guest today needs no introduction, as we all know him. A Muslim Christian scholar and professed revolutionary, he advocates that Southern Cameroons should take their country back and do not need permission from La Republique du Cameroun to do so. I am your host, Pamela Bongkiyung, and our guest today is none other than Abdulkarim Ali. Welcome, Abdul Karim. It is a pleasure having you on this platform once again.
Thanks for having me, Pamela.
Great, welcome. So, to our audience, make sure to send your questions throughout the interview and we will pass them on to our guest. So, back to our guest today, Abdul Karim Ali. Let's face the facts. You're no stranger to getting arrested, and the last time you were here, it was also after an arrest, or as you would like to say, abduction. So during your abduction this time around, the latest of which was in September 2019 by the Gendarmerie, who took you to the State Defense Secretariat in Yaoundé. This took place in front of the Swiss Embassy. We were just wondering, what were you doing at the Swiss Embassy?
All right, so let me begin by praising God and I ask Him to send His blessings upon His prophet, last of whom is Muhammad. I ask Him to send His blessings upon the suffering people of Southern Cameroons. I ask Him to bless the families who've lost members lately, and of course to the members and team of Daily TV. Thanks for having me, Pamela. So, you said I would like to say it is abduction. No, I would not like to say it is abduction. It is abduction. Arrest is clearly defined. If you define arrest using the dictionary definition or the philosophical definition or the legal definition or the judicial definition, what happened to me is not an arrest. That is a clear case of abduction. So,
Mhm.
yeah, what was I doing at the Swiss embassy? Actually, I'd returned from Switzerland.
Mhm.
I had an official invitation in pursuit of justice and, of course, finding ways to begin a process that would end up with the people of Southern Cameroons and the government of La Republique du Cameroun on a table of a
Mhm.
negotiation. Upon return,
Mhm.
the ambassador invited me to see him. So I live in Bamenda, but
Mhm.
they landed in Douala. So I thought it is better to rush to Yaoundé,
Mhm.
see him before going home. So I didn't go home. I left for Yaoundé, I think 2 days after I'd landed. So
Mhm.
upon exit from the embassy, I was intercepted and abducted by one man in assaulted wear, who later on invited two others in the
Yeah.
gendarmerie uniform. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Before we get into that, let's talk more about the Swiss dialogue process. So, what's going on there? Has this happened, or is it yet about to happen, or are you still guys still in the consultation phase?
Oh yeah, yeah. Thanks for asking this question because many people have a misconstrued idea
Yeah.
about the process. Yeah, yeah. It is a process, which means it is ongoing, right? But
Mm-hmm.
what is happening right now? What happened then, before I was arrested, and what is still happening, is that they're trying to have pre-talks. It is
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be a negotiation. So
Mm-hmm.
when people say Southern Cameroonians are going to Switzerland to negotiate, when
Mm-hmm.
like Cameroon is not yet going to Switzerland, it begs the question if they understand what they're saying. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's pre-talks. The same thing they're doing with Southern Cameroonians. They are supposed to do it with the other party if the party so chooses. What they're
Yeah.
doing now is simply explaining to you that look, whatever it is going to end on a peace negotiation table, and
Yeah.
this peace is in. This is what negotiations are all about. This is what
Mm-hmm.
is in. You need to prepare yourself. You need to get a team. This is what they're doing. So Switzerland owned up to champion this cause using a local non-governmental organization whose job is to broker peace like this,
Mm-hmm.
called the Humanitarian Center for Dialogue (HD). So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the Swiss process is still very much alive. It is
Mm-hmm.
never easy from what they explained to us, and one can see today that it is never easy. If you look
Mm-hmm.
at history, the case of Sudan and all of the Eritreans, it takes time. So
Mm-hmm.
they keep talking to both parties from a
Mm-hmm.
point of neutrality.
Okay, that's interesting to note because we always hear the Swiss dialogue being bandied about, and nobody knows if it's happened already or what's going on there. And like you said, the whole situation is misconstrued. So I'm happy to learn what's going on there and to understand that it's HD that is behind the organization. I just wondered, out of curiosity, if you are aware of the invited parties that are kind of partial to it or are willing to take part in this process. Or is this still a case of, as part of the process, they're trying to get them on board?
Oh yeah. Look, there are only two parties: the people of
Mhm,
Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroun. But now the people of Southern Cameroons are in a revolution, and all revolutions that have happened in history,
mhm,
different movements have prosecuted this revolution. So the
mhm,
burden, when people, according to what I understand in processes like this, the
mhm,
burden on the part of the organizing country and of course the organization like HD is to
mhm,
make sure that first of all the
mhm,
two parties are together. In other words, for example, the fractions in Southern Cameroon are
mhm.
supposed to be together, not necessarily talking the same language, but be together to prepare to meet the other
Yeah.
party. Yeah. So yeah, by and large, the movements are on board, and there's not a single movement of the Southern Cameroon Revolution that clearly came out to say we refuse the Swiss process. No, movements have had questions,
Mhm.
worries, challenges that they're seeking for answers. But I don't think there is anyone that clearly came out to say we would never or we reject the Swiss process. So, but you can say 90% of the people of Southern Cameroons are already engaged with the Swiss process.
Okay, that's great to hear. And so coming back to your abduction, I mean, I don't want to belabor the point of why you were arrested, as most people must have heard from your many interviews that you've already had, your most recent one being on Equinox TV on Wednesday this week. Um, the charges were terrorism in one form or another, either inciting it or participating in it, facilitating it, or being a terrorist yourself. So, in a nutshell, terrorism. And I have a gentleman here by the name of Kirk Cannon who's asking, Karim, what measures are you taking for your security, given how you were accosted and abducted?
Oh yeah, yeah, you can say that. Yeah, the charges were not just terrorism because words really should be taken seriously. It
Mm-hmm.
was first of all incitement of terrorism,
Mm-hmm.
sponsor of terrorism.
Yes.
What else? There was one other funny language which because it was in French, and
So
then
it
the
was,
last was itself terrorism. So
so it
despite the
was, yeah, it
sorry,
was sponsor of terrorism.
yeah,
It
and then
was,
apologies of terrorism.
yeah, apologies for terrorists, inciter of violence, and terrorism.
Yeah,
So the
and then
four.
prison itself. So this were the charges, and of course they were not founded. So what am I doing to ensure my security, or to think? What am I doing to ensure that I'm not I don't fall the same prey as I did last time? I leave
Yeah.
everything to God. Yeah, you I'm sure this is my second interview. My consistency at least can be confirmed by those who follow me. I stand for justice, and if this is where one should die, I'm ready to die upon such a cause. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an inciter of violence. If
Mm-hmm.
saying that my people are being massacred means inciting violence, then so be it. But this, I mean, if peace means that I should stay silent in the face of injustice, then I don't need such peace. If
Mm-hmm.
peace means that the people of Gabu, the people of Babanki, my parents
Mm-hmm.
will be slaughtered and roasted, and I cannot even answer questions from TVs and
Mm-hmm.
other media organs who would ask me about the cases, then I don't want such peace. This is why real peace is
Mm-hmm.
not the absence of war, it's the
Mm-hmm.
presence of justice. We must first of all agree that you were wrong to have killed that person, and then we talk about peace. So basically, yeah, I leave it to God, and I hope for the best.
Okay. So let's just carry on and get into this because a lot of things has been happening on the ground. We've seen the scorched earth tactics that have been used to eviscerate Southern Cameroonians, and they've worsened with Garbu in Donka Mantung that we saw on the 14th. And it's been alleged that on the 24th of February, they went back there, and those who were witnesses or some of the families of the victims, they were killed. I've seen you talking about Padanjuma, or if I'm not, or is it, if please correct me if the name is wrong, who was one of the witnesses that has been killed. And then yesterday again in Small Babanki, we saw where more than 16 people have been killed and their houses have been burned. Do you think it was a good idea for Southern Cameroonians to pick up arms? Because this it seems to have facilitated the regime's agenda to shut Anglophone voices once and for all because they're really going for it.
Oh yeah, you can say that. And I'm happy that you're following the incident or event as a turnout.
Mm-hmm.
But to come to your question, is it a good idea, or was it a good idea for Southern Cameroonians to pick up arms? Look, Delhi, you are in the UK, do I presume, right? England,
Yes.
precisely. Yeah. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you should know. You should know the question of Ireland and other parts of the United Kingdom, like Scotland, and
Mm-hmm.
so on. Yeah, the difference between those places and the Africa you see today is revolution. A revolution is the difference between past and present. And if people didn't stand up for that, you wouldn't be able to sit there and enjoy the kind of liberalism, naturalism, and human rights that you do. And this applies to all the Western countries.
Mm-hmm.
Was it right for them to pick up arms? Yes. Was it good? Is it good to pick up arms at any time? No. But
Mm-hmm.
right in the sense that you cannot see your parents, you cannot come out in peace with peace plans and beg for what you are not supposed to be begging for in the first place. And the
Mm-hmm.
response is military and fire blazons on your
Mm-hmm.
parents, children, and so on. What would you do? The Western world
Mm-hmm.
defines it as the right to self-defense. So it
Mm-hmm.
is right that they would defend themselves, but it is never good. War is not a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Look at just a small thing that got created called virus. Today we could name it coronavirus. See
Yeah.
what it has done to the world. To remind us that we are nothing, and we can only respect human beings.
Mm-hmm.
Besides the human life that is taken, I listened to radio this morning. It's
Yeah.
explaining that more than 20 billion gone already and solution not yet found. So what about weapons of mass destruction,
Mm-hmm.
like helicopters coming to kill children and women? It is not good. So it is never good, but we cannot at the same time, Pamela, I cannot hit you,
Mm-hmm.
beat you up, and then expect you not to try and defend yourself. And if you
Mm-hmm.
turn around and what you find is a gun, you're going to use it and nobody's going to blame you. So
Mm-hmm.
when we say that it is not good, we should never compute it if it was right or not. It was right to
Okay.
defend themselves. But yeah, the price is high. This is why we cannot pay this price for a special status or federation.
Okay. I mean, I will go come back to this again a little later, but in a different angle. So, you've actually mentioned about democracy, liberalism, and I realized that also in your interview where you spoke on Equinox this early this week, you mentioned your belief in democracy and in what the people want. But is you sort of kind of answered the question, but let me put it to you this way. So you said that democracy which provides liberalism, the latter which can only be a product of a revolution, then you understand why people have picked up arms. So you're not exactly against the ongoing conflict and the fact that people in Southern Cameroon have had to defend themselves. And you yourself have also mentioned that the costs have been very high and they continue to grow each day with the number of dead bodies mounting. I mean, they say that more than 3,000 people are dead, but we know that it's so much more than that because there are so many mass graves unaccounted for, and some people that we haven't even found yet. So do you not think that the people have grown tired and no longer wish to be involved in an armed conflict as they're bearing the brunt of it through losing family, insecurity, and displacement?
Oh yeah, I think yeah, thanks. And I always like your articulation, but permit me correct a few things. I didn't say I like the people carrying arms. I said you asked the question, was it right? So I answered it is right. But
Okay,
I would never want anybody to pick arms. But at the
okay.
same time, I would never ask anybody to stay and get themselves slaughtered and see their family being slaughtered. Yeah,
Mhm,
yeah, really and truly. To be fair with this question that you asked now, the people are tired. The
mhm,
people want it and they didn't want it in the first place. This is why it's called self-defense, because you've been pushed to the end,
mhm,
nowhere else to go. You only have to come back.
mhm,
How do you come back? You cannot come back like the same way you were pushed. You come back aggressively. You don't want to
mhm,
take the punches, you don't want to take the blows. So you want to defend yourself. So
mhm,
if I wanted arms to continue or the guns, what am I doing in Switzerland?
mhm.
Yeah, because in Switzerland we are hoping that there should be ceasefire. People
Yeah.
should get back to their homes. We sit on table and talk.
Mhm,
Southern Cameroonians are not fighting, are not talking to fight. The only reason they started fighting is because they want to talk.
Yes.
Yeah. La République, on the other hand, behaves as though all they know is fight.
Mm-hmm.
And God is telling them that, look, you are not bigger than anything. These are
Yeah.
people who are not trained,
Mm-hmm.
who don't have money, but for 4 years you are unable to defeat them. And
Yeah.
you can see with their actions, they are delaying the process. They
Yeah.
are not on the table and they are not out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if they were on that table, we shouldn't be having guns. Because
Okay.
negotiations will not be going on when fires are still blazing. The
Yeah.
first recommendation would be for, okay, can we cease fire? Can
Mm-hmm.
our people live in peace? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Southern Cameroonians have never wanted guns. They don't want guns. So I will not say whether they are tired or not, but I can never at the same time say they are tired of defending themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is tired of defending themselves.
Okay. Sorry, I'll just quickly read this comment because I have a Bisson Besson here who's insisting on this comment. So I need to make sure I pass on the message before we pass it on. So Bisson Besson has a message for you, Abdulkarim Ali. This is the second time he's sending it. He's saying, I repeat, I have incredible information. You'll be killed if you return to Cameroon. A word to the wise ears. So he mentioned that previously. And then we also have another comment here from Mercy Good Vizia, who's saying, be careful with Bia, but we are praying for you, brother. The Lord is in control. So let's carry on. It is clear that, just like you said, that the Bia regime has no intention of resolving this conflict amicably because the answer is very simple. You sort of mentioned in your interview when people say that there are so many reasons for this conflict, and you say there's just the one, the decolonization process that wasn't done properly, as you link it to Article or is it Resolution 1608. So Maurice Kamto has come on scene and he has been hailed as a possible person who, if he ascends to the presidency of La République du Cameroun, would be quite amenable to a roundtable discussion. That you yourself have mentioned that without a roundtable discussion, nothing can move forward regarding the Southern Cameroons issue. However, you classify those who entertain discussions by Southern Cameroons with any political leader of La République du Cameroun as sort of like begging to be heard. So, how exactly do you think Southern Cameroons can gain its independence without coming to an arrangement with La République du Cameroun, given that we had the 1961 plebiscite to join them, even if the terms were quite obscure or not yet agreed, or an accord binding to federalism with La République du Cameroun signed?
Oh, thank you so much for that one. Yeah, to make it simple to understand, I wouldn't go into the polemics of La République du Cameroon's politics, but just so they remember that our country is not a laboratory for them to explore and exploit their opportunistic political career. We're not for that anymore. Now, it is true. Many people think that Maurice Kamto can be more softer on coming on a table.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is this, I would have thought so too, but we saw his demeanor in the North America. He behaves like a president already, perhaps he is, but not for
Mm-hmm.
Southern Cameroons. He rejected our comrades. He said he's not going to talk to them. And this year, this actually is what now brings me back to history.
Mm,
I asked myself, how the hell did we get here?
mm,
How the hell did we get in the position to always beg and get from francophones? Even with the federation, dear Pamela,
mhm,
even with the federation, we came in as equal status.
mhm,
What brings us to that position where one party thinks he can choose and pick who to speak amongst us with, especially
mhm,
after the escalation process? Because the
mhm,
problem has been there, like we all know, since 1961 and
mhm,
today, from 2016, it escalated
mhm,
epidemic proportion where our people are being slaughtered like they were nothing. And
mhm,
let's not forget, Professor Maurice Kamto, when did he start articulating the problem of Southern Cameroons? When?
mhm,
Last year. Last year, He went in for political, how do you call it, presidential election. He didn't care about us then. You know,
mhm,
then 2017 already saw 1st October, 22nd September. They were
mhm,
already mass graves. The killing had already went on so badly. 2018 October is when these elections ran, and he told a lie to BBC that the killings had not been like it was now. So,
mhm,
how many Southern Cameroonians need to die for anybody to consider? But this is the thing. Southern Cameroons would never go cap in hand to French Cameroon. They did not conquer us in war. We came in. They did not even, they actually denied our independence. They voted against Resolution 1608. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't vote to join us. We vote to join them. We
Mm-hmm.
are the first democracy not in Central or West Africa, in the entire Africa. These people have one government since and before and after their independence. And they come here and they don't have the humility. They want to teach us who to speak with, who not to speak with. We're not going to take it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing. We are not in politics. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure intellectuals like Maurice Kamto would draw a big line between a revolution and a politics. Southern Cameroonians are not doing politics now. We are in a revolution. We
Mm-hmm.
are not in politics. We are not doing campaign speeches. We
Mm-hmm.
are not explaining that there will be good water to anybody. We are fighting to survive. We are
Mm-hmm.
fighting to represent ourselves as a people. So in this case, we cannot mix it with someone who has a political agenda.
Mm-hmm.
This is the position, and I hope that he can understand, everybody can understand that there are lines between these things. We are not politicians, we are revolutionaries. So,
Mm-hmm.
and anyway, God exposed him in Canada when he rejected to meet Southern Cameroonians.
Mm-hmm.
He said he will not meet them. So, yeah, I think I don't know if I answered well, and I can try again later if you permit me.
Okay, so let me just quickly bring you back again to the fact that Cameroon actually voted against the independence of Southern Cameroon. So I have a document here on the screen. I don't know if you can see it, but it's the United Nations General Assembly 994th plenary meeting of Friday, the 21st of April, 1961. So on this document, I know that not very many people know history. You have alluded to Professor Kamto's knowledge of the history of Southern Cameroons, but it is interesting, and I'd like for our audience to hear from you how it is that for Southern Cameroon's independence vote, 64 people voted for and 23 voted against, with La République du Cameroun being one of those who voted against, and then there were 10 abstentions. So how did we get in this quagmire of having to actually choose to go to La République and to Nigeria when it was clearly voted for that we should become independent?
Yeah. This is why. Thank you for that question. This is why we keep telling anybody who choose to know Maurice Kamto or anyone that our independence is not what we are brokering with them. They don't have the legal, moral, or even political right to tell us what to be and what not to be. Our independence is a question we are asking the United Nations that the resolution 1514 and 1608 permit us to be a people. If the answer is yes, what happened to it?
Mhm,
So, La République du Cameroun has no business telling us who to be and who not to be. How did we find ourselves in this quagmire?
mhm,
It's actually it's a result of hypocrisy and, of course, double stance of the United Kingdom. Unfortunately, the country that we live in, Britain, England, particularly, um, with the usurpation of France, uh, basically under United Nations,
mhm,
because Resolution 1514 clearly says that the instruments of governance should be given back to the people that were either a colony or a trust territory to the master. In
mhm,
this case, Southern Cameroon was a trust territory to Britain, to England. French Cameroon was a trust territory to France.
mhm,
Instrument of independence in January 1960 instrument of governance, sorry, was given to Aiju,
mhm,
was given to La République du Cameroun after they chose the name La République du Cameroun upon their independence. But when it came to us, the instruments of independence against Resolution 1514 was not given to us. Again, it was handed to Aijo at the airport of Tico.
mhm,
Resolution 1608 is the resolution that votes for our independence. So comes now the question of what kind of independence? Independence means independence. But England comes to tell us that, look, we understand you have to be independent and like every other country, but
mhm,
hey, you're going to have to choose between two things. You're going to get independence by joining Nigeria, and it's important we get the word by, not upon.
mhm,
By joining Nigeria or by joining La République du Cameroun.
mhm,
Dr. Endele challenged it from day one. Day one. He said we came from Nigeria in 1953, and Nigeria to us is a deep blue sea. It's a sea that wants to sink us in. And
Mm-hmm.
then you're asking us to get into a country, a barbaric country that were killing the Bamileke people, and Southern Cameroon hosted them as refugee camps. You're asking us to go and join them. It's a blazing fire.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to the third option? Where is our complete and total independence? The response from Sir Philipson was that Southern Cameroons is not economically viable, to the
Mm-hmm.
surprise of economics of today, because Southern Cameroons has fed La Republique du Cameroun for 58 years. Can you imagine a country that is supposed to be not economically viable? So this is where the gymnastics were played. And that is why our question of independence, we are asking the United Nations, do you respect your resolutions?
Mm-hmm.
We are asking the world, did you vote for our independence? And
Mm-hmm.
if you did, give it to us. So it is not a question. That negotiation is not about the independence of Southern Cameroon, please. We are never going to stoop low to discuss whether or not a free people who on their own free will joined La Republique du Cameroon will be asking La Republique today whether we should be independent or not. We can
Mm-hmm.
talk reparations, we can talk other things, but not independence, because that debate, we want England to come on the table and tell us that we are not supposed to be independent. We want the United Nations to come on the table and tell us that. And then we can pick up this debate with them. And just so I clarify something, people also misconceive the fact that perhaps Abdulkarim Ali, who is going for the pre-talks in Switzerland, is the part of the negotiating team of Southern Cameroon. That's far from it. No, there are experts that are going to be handling these things. So fortunately or unfortunately, some of
Mm-hmm.
us are the ones now going there to listen and bring back the information to our people. I
Mm.
hope that answers the question.
Okay, so I have a comment here regarding what we've just discussed. So it's from Kingsley Newu. He's saying about the documents that I've just talked to you about. And this is a problem with Southern Cameroon's independence vote or history. It's always very fraught with different narratives. And so you're never quite clear. So Kingsley Newu is saying that I'm sorry, but that document on the screen to which Abdul has just referred is not real. There were votes for amendments and not a vote for independence. There is no evidence whatsoever on UN archives of such a vote, which gets one a bit confused. And then he adds that, sorry, the vote for independence took place on 11th of February 1961. The UNGA resolution 1608 only ratifies the vote. It is not a vote. I don't get it. Do you understand what this is about?
Yeah, you don't get it because that doesn't make sense. UN Resolution 1608 voted for the independence of Southern Cameroon. We can pick up that debate one face to face, and I'll
Mhm.
provide primary source material. Please, can you go to the next question? That isn't It's not coherent. It doesn't make sense. That's why you cannot make sense out of it. But of
Okay.
course, I'm not dismissing it from the
Okay.
tip of
All right.
liberality. We can
All
pick
right.
a one-on-one, face-to-face debate on that, and then I'm going to prove that Southern Cameroon was voted for independence, not just ratifying documents. Thank you.
Sure. Let's carry on. So let's move into the Ambazonia movement specific. Chris Anu recently went on air to present a case on why Francophones should leave Southern Cameroons. Daphne Yerima supported this message by posting his own video to the same effect. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think you should ask perhaps Chris Anu and, of course, Daphne Yarima. Um, I don't have the leverage and liberty to answer such questions as they will do. Why don't you ask questions to me that you want to ask to me?
No, because people would like to, people listen to you, so they would like to, get your opinion because you obviously have opinions about so many other things. So this also is part of that issue. So do you think Francophones should be asked to leave Southern Cameroons?
Do I think Francophones should be asked to leave Southern Cameroons? Um, the Southern Cameroonians have accommodated every kind of citizens, including Nigerians, and of course, Francophones have come in as a result of a massacre upon their lives by the former president of La Republique du Cameroun, Aïdjo.
Mm-hmm.
Southern Cameroonians got into conflict with the government of French Cameroon, their government, and in the course of it, we know that Francophones have donated money to fight the very people who give them a refuge. We
Mm-hmm.
know that the mob I know Sisiku was arrested and the cabinet, and I heard that people slaughtered swine in a neighborhood called Swine Quarter in Bamenda.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but what I'll say is that I will not come and say Francophones in quote should be chased out of Southern Cameroon. I think the message Secretary Chris Ano gave is that it is no more secure for them, that the interim government cannot guarantee their safety.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, he's calling on them to relocate because he cannot guarantee their safety. So, yeah, I'm not government. I don't have the instrument to say to chase people, out. So I cannot answer this question beyond this.
But isn't it problematic if we can tell Francophones that it's no longer safe for them? Do you think it would be safe for us in the Francophone areas? Because there are quite a lot of people running away from Southern Cameroons to the Francophone areas. And, we're then asking the others to leave because it's not safe for them. Will it be safe for us or for those who are refugees now in Francophone zones?
No, no, no. They are not refugees in the Francophone zone. Listen to me. When Francophones came to Southern Cameroons was using British pound sterling. Southern Cameroons had a defined border. French Cameroon citizens were not the citizens of Southern Cameroons. Today, due to the crook and phony federation, all Southern Cameroonians, all of them, have such a thing called the national identity card, which I can say is a green card. They have the right to be in the territory of French Cameroon. So I wouldn't say it's a refugee case per se. So how is their safety there? Of course, they have never been safe. You know what happened in Yaoundé? The geo censored all Anglophones in quote, as they put it, and many of them were arrested. Many of them have been arrested. Many of them, one was even beaten. Where is it in Buda, where I think last month? One was beaten almost to death. So yeah, Southern Cameroonians, if they feel unsafe, don't they have? They should go back to their homes. My advice is that they should go back to their homes if they don't feel unsafe. And the advice also, which government has given, is that we cannot guarantee your safety.
Hmm.
So it is better we unburden ourselves by asking you to relocate.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I think
Okay.
it's a fair advice.
So on your Facebook page, you indicated that the struggle needs a change of gears, a big change in capitalize, you qualified it. So what did you mean by that?
Yeah, I think I remember that post. Yeah, yeah, a big change. If you cannot change your mindset, you cannot change anything. That is my understanding. Change is something we must always embrace. We cannot boast and say that okay, our revolution has been 100% in the right direction, especially chiming with the international community, especially with the Swiss process. So
Mhm.
when I refer to a big change, I simply, yeah, if you want to change, if you want to make big changes, you need to start changing big things. So of course, yeah, we need to change our attitude. We need to change our language. We need to collaborate. We need to stop insulting ourselves. We need to stop picking and choosing who to talk to, who not to talk to. We need to start talking to ourselves more than talking about ourselves. To me, that is a big change. And if that big change is done, big things are going to happen as well.
Okay. So if we are talking to ourselves, what exactly do we have to be talking to ourselves about? I would think that people already understand each other in some ways, except in the differing of opinions, of course.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Difference of opinions. Look, this is human nature. Difference of opinions is what brought in a computer. Difference of opinions is what brought in the app that you have because people had to debate algorithms, debate bit and bytes to come out with a solution. Difference of opinion has never been a point of quarrel. When it's healthy, it's good and it's good and of course productive for a society. But the problem is that we cannot confuse between truth and fact. Neither should we confuse between lies and truth. So when something is wrong, we have to admit that it is wrong and embrace that which is correct. So different of opinion, what should we be working on? What I mean is, for example,
Hmm.
we have serious humanitarian problems. Talking to ourselves about these problems would enable us find easy solution to our people than when we talk about ourselves and distract ourselves. We
Hmm.
have serious diplomatic issues and security issues to attend to. Talking to ourselves will help us galvanize,
Hmm.
put resources together,
Hmm.
and commit ourselves into driving possible solutions to these things, as opposed to talking about ourselves. Talking about ourselves in pidgin is called kungusa. It's gossips. It doesn't help. It does actually four things. It multiplies our difficulties, it
Hmm.
subtracts our energy, it
Hmm.
adds our problems, and it
Hmm.
divides our effectivity. We cannot grow like that. But when
Hmm.
we talk to ourselves with humility,
Mm-hmm.
eyeball to eyeball. It be on phone. We learn.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're questioning me, I'm giving answers. My
Yeah.
answers could totally be wrong, trust me, but I'm
Yeah.
learning from you. I can
Mm-hmm.
learn humility. I can learn the way you put your questions. I can learn from some of the comments. So we need to talk to ourselves more, and we need to realize that there are serious problems. War is a big thing, and the big problem with the war is humanitarian problem. And like you mentioned, heavy humanitarian problems that need attention. We cannot do this if we are not together.
Yeah, so I've decided to be interspersing the questions as we go along so that we don't ask them after we've had the discussion. Otherwise, it loses, the gravitas of the moment. So I have a question here from Kirk Cannon. He's saying, Karim, if you were given the chance to choose between two mediators, who do you prefer, USA or Switzerland? With Switzerland being a French-speaking country, do you trust them as an honest mediator, given the cultural link between Switzerland and France, who isn't in support of the independence of Amazonia?
Yeah, that's a very intelligent question. Look, whether it is Switzerland or America, the premise of their civilization and culture is liberalism. It doesn't so the Western world is being run on liberalism. So it's pretty much an opposite to Africa. It's a
Mhm,
liberal world, and if you should know that democracy is a birth of or how do you call it? It's an offshoot of
mhm,
liberalism as well as human rights. So
mhm.
whether it is Switzerland or America, they are never going to force anything they want down the throat of Southern Cameroonians. They
Mhm,
are never. It's a negotiation. They are only bringing two of you together for you to debate and find whatever grounds you want to find. But I
mhm.
understand what the questioner wants me to say, that this could be more preferable than the other. In
Yeah.
this case, I'll go for the USA. Why?
Mhm,
Yeah, Switzerland has gone through revolutions. All of us are products of immigration and revolution. That's true.
mhm,
Switzerland has also gone through revolution. Let's not forget, it's not a French-speaking country per se. It has
mhm,
French, it has Dutch, it has German, and of course English. Italians are there. Everyone is there in Switzerland. They actually say we are Swiss and free. In other words, we are free from any other thing. It be French, it be Deutsch, it be Dutch, it be English. We are free from all these things. We are in all of them.
mhm,
And then America, on the other hand, went through serious pain to be what they are. So they understand our pain more. Switzerland did not go through that route so much. So America, we know the history of America. We know what the forefathers of the United States of America went through to make the beautiful country, in quotes, that we all love today be what it is. We know George Washington, the godfather. We know the revolution. Martin Luther King, our own black brother. We know what he went through just so people can speak like me today freely, move in and out of anywhere freely and speak where he did so much for people to be killed if they have to be killed for the grievous crime they have committed, not to be killed for who they are, as Southern
mhm,
Cameroonians have been killed. Yeah,
mhm.
so America would, United States of America would be in a better position to understand the cries of Southern Cameroonian than Switzerland. But generally, by and large, understand what liberalism is. You need to understand where they're coming from. And then, listen, whether it is America or Switzerland, Southern Cameroonians must understand that they need to have their own cards and they must play their cards close to their chest.
Mhm.
So it doesn't matter where you go to, including France. Even if it were France, France is a liberal country. So
Mhm.
you just need to play your cards. That is why it's called a negotiation table. It's not called a, it's negotiation. Negotiation. You're going to have to negotiate. You're going
Mhm.
to have to argue, and then you,
Mhm.
of course, explain why your positions should be voted for. That's what these negotiations are all about. Thank you.
Yeah, but some people would argue that America is in no position actually to be a better negotiator on this matter, because America's, international diplomatic policy, foreign policy, it has a lot of double standards. Even President Barack Obama, in his book, The Audacity of Hope, um, did say that America has been known to make use of talks. Like, for example, he gave the case of Noriega or Guatemala, I'm not sure, South Latin American country, who was put in place because he was there and upholding USA interests. So he was allowed to be president because he was doing what America wanted. And it's the same thing with Cameroon as well. Some would say that because beer is actually trained by the USA, by the Israelis. And so they would say that, America has an interest to ensure that Biafra stays to protect their interests, because Cameroon is quite strategic for their combating Boko Haram in the north and all of that. So this makes it quite complex when you say we should choose that. But coming back to your point, which is a very salient one, we need to also come with our own points and be very assertive in what Southern Cameroon wants, because without that, then you get shortchanged. But anyhow, moving on, because I know that you don't have much time, so I want to get these so that you can get to your next activity. So there is a lot of radicalization going on in Southern Cameroons, and people no longer have value for life. Yes, the military has committed a lot of atrocities, but most troubling is the fact that Amazonian fighters have become a source of terror to innocent civilians in Southern Cameroons as well. So what, in your opinion, can be done to redirect the energy towards a more purposeful fight for the liberation and freedom of Southern Cameroons?
Yeah. I actually three things, and before I get to three things, I'd like to make a comment regarding the thing you said about the United States. Yeah. So look, the United States of America may have interest, and I ask myself this: who in the world would be in an engagement without interest? You here interviewing me, you have your interest. It be career, popularity, whatever. There is an interest. Me being your guest, I have my interest. I want to pass my message. Of course, maybe popularity too. There's interest everywhere. Everybody has their interest. But to the extent which you know that an interest will not cause somebody to cloud thinking, you can trust those people. I think that whatever interest is there in Cameroon on the part of Switzerland or America is not that which will cause them to close their eyes to justice. Again, it's supposed to be the cut of Southern Cameroonians. Yeah, but I think that there will be interest from any country, there will be interest from anyone. What we must do is that we pay attention to our own interests and guard our modesty, guard our information, guard our tongues, put the right cards when we have to put them, and close the other cards to our chest. Yeah, that said, look, war is a bad thing.
Mhm.
Blood is not good. Southern Cameroonians have never fought a war. We don't like blood. You know this. But this is what has happened also. In as much as there's high radicalization, I will not 100% blame it on the Amber Boys.
Mhm.
We know that there are paramilitary working at very high level, even at higher level than what you call the Amber Boys, the restoration fighters. We know them. We know that vigilante groups have been created to harass the population in a bid to defend, in a bid to try and fight the restoration fighters. We know all of these things. Yeah, but bottom line, we asked ourselves, how did we get here? What is the root cause? Who drew first blood? La Republique du Cameroun on the 8th of December 2016 killed Akum Julius for nothing. For nothing. Killed on the 22nd of September 2017. They came with helicopters and blazed on people that were marching with peace plans. 1st of October, the same. It took 1 year before these people got angry. This is why we are begging the international community that it is turned into genocide. What is the definition of genocide if this cannot define it? If killing someone for not doing something but for who they are is not genocide, what the hell is it? This is what happened in Gabo. Simply because these people are who they are, they have been killed. This is why we call on the international community that they cannot pretend again to want to come and give an excuse as they did in the case of Rwanda, as they did in the case of South Sudan. They cannot come and apologize. It is ongoing now. They have to come in and stop it. Because when you kill people's parents, bruise some alive, jail people, rape their daughters, they would get angry. When you deny people of their rights in peace, they will take it by force. This is natural. So Jesus Christ says, do unto others as you love them to do unto you.
Okay. So prior to because you've mentioned who drew first blood and all of that, but let's also highlight the fact that people, because I saw a video recently, I think it's in the past 2 days, of some very young guys. I don't know if they're the part of the Red Dragons or they're a Yumojok. They're wearing red, and they were holding a head of a very younger person looking man or young boy. So we're seeing a lot of these decapitations. We've seen those of Ayafo Florence that just left us like really dumbfounded that we were capable of this kinds of thing. So prior to the decapitations carried out by some of the Amber Boys, which we see daily on social media, and the infighting that resulted in the death of the Ambazonia Defense Force fighter Nginyam and the execution of General Chacha of the Bui warriors, it has made it easy for the argument of moral equivalence to be used, thereby diluting the legitimacy of the fight by Southern Cameroonians who yearn for freedom. So surely it is a necessary move to ensure this revolution, as you prefer to call it, succeeds. So how can the problematic Southern Cameroonian revolutionaries advancing this agenda of terror be handled? Because by their continuing to decapitate people, they make it very easy for the military of La République du Cameroun to be justified in their counteractions.
I agree with you. Literally, what you said is correct. Literally, in international law and of course in rules of engagement of war. Literally, I agree with you. But what I'll say is, yeah, I don't know if I saw that video that you mentioned, but I don't know. I cannot prove if they are restoration fighters. But what I know is that the restoration fighters are very disciplined. I've just explained to you that there's a lot of infiltration, and I know that the leaders of this movement spend a lot of money and time trying to educate the restoration fighters on war engagement rules and so on. So really, it begs the question. I can't say. I wouldn't say yes or no or right or wrong. I don't know if those are restoration fighters. But in war, there are rules of engagement, and every fighter should endeavor to respect rules of engagement. War doesn't mean becoming beast. It is war. So there are limits. I agree with you on that.
Okay. So lawyer Felix Agbo-Kongo was on Equinox's La Vérité en Face program, and he highlighted how when he and fellow lawyers were arrested, those who started Skakov, it created a vacuum on the ground, and that the Southern Cameroons fight was radicalized by people in the diaspora, and separatists came in to fill the gap. Do you think that this is what happened?
That is a lie. It's not even wrong, it's a lie. The revolution of Southern Cameroon did not start with Barrister Bala and Dr. Fontem and Co being arrested. It didn't start there. I'm sure that the lawyer should be honest enough to recognize this history.
No,
If he fails to
he
recognize
didn't
it,
say, sorry, he did not say that it started there, but he said that because when they started the movement.
yes, I'm coming. I'm coming. If he says that it was stolen, I want to remind him because I'm getting there. It was stolen. That's what it means. People you usurped it. People took advantage of something. So I want to
Oh, no,
remind him
sorry,
that.
sorry. I will interject because that's not what he said. He was quite categorical. He said that because they weren't there, and the way he was also asked posed the question, because they were not there, as they were the ones at the time who were leading most of the protests in different ways, be it a ghost town, be it a protest march, because they weren't there when they were removed. There were no visible leadership people that people could look up to. So once they were out of the scene, others then came on board, but they were more about separatist agenda. And so that took root and then led to this radicalization.
Yeah, so that's why I said that it's a lie. And again, I'm just going to continue. I've understood you very well,
Okay,
and I'm just going to continue with my answer the way I was given.
okay.
There's no vacuum. There is a man called Cho Ayaba.
Yes.
Yeah, Cho Ayaba is a doctor who has been in this revolution for over 30 years. There was no vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
Besides Cho Ayaba, there is his father called Pa Fongonjin Dinka.
Mm-hmm.
He's been in this thing for over 60 years.
Mm-hmm.
Question of vacuum cannot come today. The problem is, and I want to ask this question to you, to ask Barrister Bala perhaps, when he makes such claims, when he came out of prison,
Mm-hmm.
was he dismissed from his position? No. What did he do with the vacuum? When we make the claim that the vacuum caused separatists to take advantage and turn over the thing, the question I ask him, what changed Patasang? What happened to Barrister Bobga? What happened to him, Barrister Bala? Why was he taken to jail? So what vacuum is he talking about? What vacuum changed what? Perhaps you want to take it all over because I don't get the logic. What vacuum changed what?
No,
Separatists are the one who are separatists the one who asked the government to arrest him? No. So what is the logic that if he was present, the Southern Cameroon's quest for independence will never come up because it predates him. It predates his being a lawyer. It predates his joining. How do you call it? What was the thing? consortium. It predates him. So how does his presence or absence cause radicalization in the minds of separatists, as he put it? By the way, we are not separating from anyone. We are restoring what was voted for us as a people. You see, even the name they give us is horrible. So Barrister Bala wants to tell us that if he was there, he wants to tell the government, because he went and asked for federalism, he was given instead special status. No, don't worry, if I was there, this nonsense wouldn't have happened. Is that it? Well, so I say, yeah, it flies away in the face of logic. It doesn't make sense because this revolution predates him.
No, but when the revolution picked up steam, it was when the teachers went on strike and the lawyers also went on strike. So he was the visible face, himself and Tapang, and I think another gentleman, the three who were sent to prison, that were the face on ground zero, that were visible. Yeah, we've known about Choayaba, but they weren't the ones who people look to on ground zero. So when he wasn't
Please,
there,
please,
when
this revolution, again, I'll tell you, listen to me. I'll
okay.
be honest with you, I didn't even know that name, Bala. Where do you keep Mancho? Mancho is the father of the coffin revolution. The person I even knew who was a lawyer was Barrister Bobga. It is true, Barrister Bala was president of consortium, but for him to single out himself today and say that because he was absent, he created a vacuum, that is false dilemma. It's a fallacy of false dilemma.
Okay.
So he should not poison the well. He should not poison the well. He was given the chance to lead Southern Cameroonians onto truth, and he failed. He should turn around and do ad hominems trying to poison the well. No, he was given the chance and he failed. So it's a running train. You make a mistake, you're thrown out. Perhaps you lay on the railway, it kills you. So if that happens to you, what you can do is that you can regret, apologize, but no way, no ad hominem, no games. So the revolution predates him. When he was given the opportunity, there were still actors. So he cannot claim today that he created a vacuum that caused radicalization. The only thing that caused radicalization is the barbarism, nonchalance, and arrogance of La Republique du Cameroun. It's not a vacuum. Thank you.
Okay. So, as a professed revolutionary yourself, you mentioned during our last meeting that there is no democracy during a revolution. So, we have seen some serious problems from the Southern Cameroon supposed leadership that has made things worse for the people on the ground. And this is, part of it as we're talking. So, what are your thoughts on the numerous interim governments and their divisive agenda on the Southern Cameroon's liberation fight?
Please, can you take the last part again? Sorry.
So, I'm asking what your thoughts are on the numerous interim governments, because at the moment we currently have three, and their divisive agenda on the Southern Cameroon's liberation fight.
Oh, my dear Pamela, you have 3 IGs? Because I have one.
Well, it's not about 3 IGs. Chowayaba is not exactly part of the interim government, is he? So he's part of the Ambazonia Governing Council, which is attached to
Right.
the Ambazonia Defense Forces. So he seems kind of separate, even though he says he supports
Yeah.
Sisiku Ayub
So let
Tabe.
me. Yeah,
And
yeah,
then,
my.
sorry,
This is.
let me clarify what I mean by three interim governments, even though they're not called exactly that. But I'm just using it as a generic term, but everybody calls themselves differently. But it seems to be like you have Choayaba here, who seems to be quite forceful with his ADF, and then you've got the interim government with Chris Anu and Sako Ikome. And then we seem to be getting information that Sisiku Ayub Tabe, because he was impeached by Sako and Chris Anu, who then declared themselves president, and Chris Anu now secretary general, because they impeached Sisiku while he was in jail. But Sisiku, from what I've read, has nominated Yerima to head his interim government. So this has caused a lot of divisive policies because everybody's doing different things in different places, and people no longer know which way to turn. So, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah. So yeah, I'll clarify. I understand you're also reading and studying the revolution, but my dear, this is my revolution. So what
Okay.
is so I'll tell you about this my revolution. It is in my vein, this thing. So we have one IG, dear Pamela. We have one IG, and we have other movements. AGovC is the Ambazonian Governing Council. It is not the interim government. We have also Morix, we have Sokadev, and this has been the forte of every single revolution on earth. There are different movements, but the people of Southern Cameroons decided to have an IG, which is working. We have one IG that has a problem. Just like La Republique has one government that has horrible problems. Just like Donald Trump would insult Democrats on TV, but it doesn't mean that they have different governments. It is one. We have one IG, it has difficulties. And don't forget, we are working on chewing gum. We are not even a country per se with all our instruments working. We are in a revolution operating from different angles of the space of this earth. So we have issues, true challenges, which I understand you. It is not helping. We have to try reconcile these problems and move on. But we don't have two IGs. We don't have two governments. We have one IG with different movements in the same revolution. We don't even want them to be united. We encourage them to collaborate. What is necessary is collaboration. Agree on simple things. Unity has never occurred in any revolution. If you know one, please cite me an example. Even Mandela could not agree with his own wife, Winnie, on things. They were not united. She ran her Mandela Football Club when Mandela was in prison. He spoke to her. She said she's also a leader. But they were all for the eradication of apartheid. In America, or the Jeffersons and the George Washington did not agree. They were not united in one front, but they were united in purpose and collaborated. So yes, I agree with you. It is not helping. It is causing a lot of damage. A lot of weak policies are being introduced. But we don't have two IGs. We have one. It has difficulties, and AGOVC is working on another wing, and they're doing well. We encourage all them to serve the interests of Southern Cameroons, look at the humanitarian problems, and of course push diplomacy. This is what we encourage them. So please, let's not. It's a misconception when we think that there are three IGs or even two. It's one IG with difficulties. So, and then don't forget that in every situation, scenarios like this, there are spoilers, there are infiltrators. There are people who are neither spoilers or no infiltrators, but they lack understanding, and they will come and speak things which are not correct. But this doesn't mean it is true. So again, you have many pastors who preach different versions of Trinity. It doesn't mean they're entirely wrong, neither is it true, but you will not take their word as primary source material. You have to engage the Gospels and the history of the church to find which definition exactly is the Trinity. And that will take you to the Council of Nicaea. So again, so I understand all of these things. Many people have different versions. It's like I used this morning. Let me try it again. It's like the W from different angles. You have M, W, E, and how do you call it? And three, but it's different perspective. But if you intend to say I want to see W, you need to come down to south to see W. You cannot insist to be on the other end and say that it is W. So I agree with you. This kind of split is not good, but it's a problem that every government has. Governments have problems.
Okay. So I just want to clarify, because people are saying I'm saying there's one that I'm saying that there are three IGs. I know that there's only one group or one interim government that's called us, but the other groups, people kind of recognize them because everybody has whoever they are supporting. So people have divided themselves according to who is leading one group and who they want to support, and they actually view them as governments. When you talk to people, that's how they view them. They don't call them just movements. So I think that some of the viewers need to understand, just because you know that there's one IG doesn't mean that everybody's looking at the other social movements under Chowayaba or other groups as just groups. They're actually looking at them as potential governments. Anyways, carrying on, looking at how the leadership changes have occurred. Back to you, Abdulkarim. This Southern Cameroon's conflict appears to be more about getting positions rather than the people. So if Ambazonia were to be given that independence or freedom today, how do you think the leadership's transition would work? Do we jettison the current stock of leaders and inject new, fresh leadership far removed from the politics of the current revolution? What are your thoughts?
And thank you for these very, very intelligent questions that should be in the heart of every true Southern Cameroonians. We should be finding answers to these questions right away. But I don't think it's going to be a big problem. I just mentioned earlier on that we are the first democracy in Africa, and that thing still run through us. Yeah, what is happening now is that all of us are very angry. We see our people being killed on a daily basis. This anger has produced, unfortunately, in the negative angle, some ego, some arrogance, some pride. But I don't think that after independence, there's a single leader that would go against the people. The people are going to decide who is going to lead them, and nobody is going to debate that. This is why between Foncha and Muna, it was just one vote difference, and everybody was okay with that. So it is going to work that way for us, this generation. The people are going to decide who is going to lead them, and I dare to see one leader that would oppose the will of the people. But for now, you have an angry population, a desperate one, which is under subjugation. From subjugation, now it has migrated to killing, malignment. So people are angry. And when people are angry, you don't expect them to get everything right. So the only thing is that when we get angry, we should not lose our heart and our minds. Yeah, so I agree with you. We should be thinking about all these things. But deep in my heart, I think the people of Southern Cameroons would decide who to lead them. And that would be what the world is going to take. And that is what the leaders are going to accept. They will not have a choice.
Okay, so we have a few questions coming on regarding this. I'll just quickly post them. So I have a question here from Dingoke Nelvi, who is asking, can you tell us who is heading the one IG you're referring to, Karim?
Yeah, it's Dr. Sako is heading the one IG. I hope you know that the first interim president is in jail. So Dr. Sako is heading it. And I'm surprised who asked that question. Are you following the revolution at all? Do you even read news?
There's so much information out there, so there's a lot that is misleading, and it's too difficult to keep up to date with every little change unless you're an insider, and that's for sure. So some people fail to understand that, and that's why there's a huge amount of confusion in understanding where the changes are happening, because there are different narratives, and WhatsApp news is equally not helping, because there's quite a lot of proliferation and circulation of information on WhatsApp, and most of it is wrong. But where do you go to verify this information? That's the key question. So we have another question here from Kingsley Newu, who says, do you agree with the impeachment of Sisiku? What is your opinion of the action by Cometa and others saying he was guilty of treasonous misconduct while he was facing trial for treason in Cameroon?
Yeah, I'll say that. Look, I am a revolutionary. I'm not a politician. But what I do is that I accept what leadership provides. I understand that there's a restoration council and the IG. I don't understand even processes of impeachment. I didn't read political science, and I'm not part of the politics of the revolution. I'm not engaged with that, but I go with information that authorities provide. So for now, they say Dr. Sako is the president. I admit that. Sisiku is in prison. Whenever they come back, he comes, they are going to deal with the political criteria or criterion that was supposed to have been engaged with impeachment. That is not my question to answer. I don't have skills in it. And really and truly, I'm totally and completely away from politics in the revolution. I'm not a politician, and I'm not going to even be doing politics in the revolution. So yeah, I'll take information that comes from authorities. I work with it with my reason, because what I can say, which is not politics, is that Sisiku cannot manage the IG from the prison. That one is so simple, even for my kindergarten daughter to understand. So who is there? Dr. Sako, and they say is the president. What do? We embrace and admit that. So the science underneath this politics is not what I can provide answers to. I'm not an expert in that field.
Okay, so we have a few comments regarding this before we continue. We're almost towards the end here. So we have a comment here from Julian Cotto, who's saying IG and AGC is our problem. As Mr. Karim said, they have to collaborate and persecute our revolution because there are lots of infighting who is the biggest firm. And then we have Emmanuel Ekenko here, who says, we do not need to understand anything about who rules Ambazonia. The one that calls for lockdown and is respected by the people. And let's see, more comments coming out. Sorry. So I have another comment here from NS Nzombu, who says, what you want, Sako, is the president, period. We saw him give order for lockdown. And then we have a comment here from Kiki Kimbi, who says, there's too much twist on this revolution. We don't even know who to trust. And then Ismail Sangu says, it is not Sako or Ayaba governing. It is a county by county governing. Stop calling names of internet leaders. And another one before we proceed. Zamani Isaac is saying, please keep quiet if you don't have anything to say. I don't know if that's for one of the people he's chatting with in the chat box. Another one here from United Linoman. Sir, we want to ask that how can we collaborate as far as this revolution is concerned? So that's a question, Abdul Karim. So we want to ask that how can we collaborate as far as this revolution is concerned?
Yeah. I think that should take us to basic definitions, right? Unity actually implies bringing many things to become a whole.
Mm,
That is very, it's a very difficult thing to do, I'm telling you. Whereas collaboration simply means working together to achieve something.
mhm,
We agree on simple things. For example, we say that we want to raise funds to help our brothers in the prison or in the refugee camps. We agree on that and work towards it to achieve that. That is collaboration.
mhm,
Collaboration simply means that we share information, share ideas, agree what we disagree upon, we keep them for tomorrow for another debate. What we disagree upon, we keep them tomorrow for another debate. What we have agreed upon, we make haste to achieve it. We
mhm,
debate our points with honor and respect, disagree, and what we agree upon, we make haste to achieve it. This is what collaboration entails. And if you want to succeed in micro or macro projects, it is required, it is necessary to collaborate. This is why in companies, different departments are there, but they must liaise with other departments to get results. They must. For example, in a service, let's take, for example, a hospital. Yeah,
mhm,
the expert is there with a doctor, but how can he work in a dirty environment? He needs a cleaner. After that, the patients need to pay their bills. He needs a cashier and an accountant. And the
mhm,
accountant needs to report to perhaps the director. They must liaise. So if we
mhm,
are in a revolution, which is one thing, and actually our revolution is not just a possible existence, it's a necessary existence. And if it is a necessary existence, things in it cannot be achieved unilaterally. It has to be a collaborative platform, and it will make things easy, and we are going to reduce a lot of damages. We are going to increase cohesion, and then we are going to get more respect in the face of the international community if we do collaborate, because we are going to avoid various languages, fertile languages, and of course different messages on the same subject.
mhm,
We are going to speak one language, but that doesn't mean we unite in essence, and that doesn't mean we agree in every methodology, but we
okay,
agree on the principles of whatever we're supposed to do. So yeah,
okay,
I think we can collaborate first by again talking to ourselves, not talking about ourselves. We need to calm down these high horses, pick our phones, call our brethren,
mhm,
apologize for those that we made wrong utterances to. You
mhm,
know,
mhm,
shake hands and move on. We need to start from there.
okay,
Look, you are not a fool until you refuse to admit your mistakes. And the big problem experts have mentioned about complex
mhm,
arrogance and is that it's a disease that the host does not recognize they possess.
mhm,
People who are arrogant, proud, and having either superiority or inferiority complex, they don't know they have it. But once
mhm,
people pay attention to it and you
mhm,
refuse to recognize it, that is when you become a fool.
mhm. So
And
I
and
have a,
that fool, and the
sorry.
fool, let me the
Mhm,
fool is spelled with capital F, capital O, another O, and then a big L. You are a fool when you fail to recognize when people admonish you, especially humbly. So
mhm.
I think we can start from there. Thank you. Carry on.
Okay, so I have a question here from Taco Julius Akbar, who is saying, what's your opinion about the IG banning other groups and individuals?
Yeah, I think that's wrong. I think that's wrong. Yeah, I think the IG should not be doing that. I think the IG has to be stately, and is it should I say stately or state manly? Which word now? I don't know. Well, the IG has to be more, the more inclusive. Yeah, I think it's not correct. They can caution and admonish other groups as being the leading organization, in my opinion. But those very strong positions and hard languages are not good. We must appreciate everyone who contributes, encourage them,
Mhm,
enable them, correct them. But we can't go on banning people who are in the same revolution. But perhaps someone may argue that for diplomatic purposes, it has some wisdom behind it, which I don't know. But from my natural instinctive perspective, I think I wouldn't do that if I were them.
okay. So this would seem a bit of an abstract question because sometimes when you've spoken in the past, you've always insisted that Southern Cameroonians are free people. But some people would wonder that how can we be free if we find if Southern Cameroons is found itself in this current situation? Is it a reflection of freedom if people are constantly being killed?
Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, so yeah, words have no meaning until you put them in context. I'm sure I've said this many times. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. If I say I love this cause, it
Mm-hmm.
means nothing until of course perhaps you saw me in a
Mm-hmm.
particular place. If I'm on a table after meal, it could
Mm-hmm.
very well mean that I love the meal. But
Mm-hmm.
if you saw me coming out from a classroom making
Mm-hmm.
the same statement, they are all the same words, the same pronunciation. I definitely I don't mean food. I mean perhaps lessons that I took. So words have no meaning until put in context. When I say we are free people, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that we are not in a quagmire that we find ourselves, but
Mm-hmm.
bona fidely, inherently, as God's creation, by legal and historical fact, we are a free people. And that is emancipation. When you clear that off your mind, that you are free and you have to
Mm-hmm.
stand for justice and stand for truth and get yourself out of man made bondage. Freedom comes from God and that He gave us. He put it
Mm-hmm.
in history and also locked it up with legality. This we know. And yeah, we know that we've lost it. This thing was taken away from us. So it is in the context that I put it, I simply mean that God made us free. He gave us the possibility to be voted 64, as you mentioned, free. He gave us the ability to be the ones to join another people who today turn to kill us. So I say
Mm-hmm.
we are free and we have to stand up, ensure that justice is being served upon us. And most times that I've said Southern Cameroon is free, such posts or articles have ended by saying that justice shall be served. This is because
Mm-hmm.
I know that there's been some injustice upon this freedom.
Okay, thanks for shedding more light into that. So, okay, we put that very much into context. I have a question here from Mojoko Menyoli, who is asking why is Sako killing other restoration forces who refuse to align with his IG? If ADF didn't show great restraint, we would have had a civil war within the revolution. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that if that question should go to Dr. Sako, please. Thank
Okay,
you.
so we have a question from George Tamanjong, which was kind of going to lead to my next question, because you're currently doing a tour, if I'm not mistaken, in Canada and the Americas. And so, if somebody has a question for you here, George Tamanjong, you're in Canada. What are you hoping to achieve, and why should Southern Cameroonians come to listen to you?
Oh yeah, sure. I'm in the North America because it's a stronghold for our people. Our people were actually put under very hard conditions that they had to run away, come thousands of miles across the Atlantic to look for greener pastures, and they
Mhm.
are here. Just like you mentioned, a lot of misunderstandings by way of leadership has further caused some dysfunction among us. So it's
Mhm.
important that we always come together, especially now that we have a process that would lead to the end of this killing, the Swiss process. And then I've been there to Switzerland. I speak with the people who are organizing this process constantly. So I think that, okay, perhaps if I come and share my idea and, of course, my knowledge of the process and tell them how bad things are going on the ground, especially the humanitarian part, I thought
Mhm.
maybe this would help, clarify some doubts, clear some misconceptions, and then,
Mhm.
yeah, bring us into committing, especially to deal with the humanitarian crisis that our people are facing and need so much immediate attention. Yeah, so I think that I hope to achieve some cohesion
Mhm.
and understanding amongst the brethren in North America.
Okay, so before we go to our rapid fire question round, on a more personal business note, so coming back to your business, how are things at the Institute of Rural Technology?
Oh, the Institute of Rural Technology, except on paper, and of course, it's an institution that was built very strongly. The concept was strong, but
Mm-hmm.
the office shut down since 2017 March. I think I told you last time. Yeah, it is shut down. But before I was abducted, I was still
Mm-hmm.
we were able to perform some um, how can I put it? Some short courses to some people. We were
Yeah.
able to handle some little contracts, which was pretty much informal. So
Mm-hmm.
even the price tag attached to those became totally insignificant. But after the abduction, things have become even more difficult. So yeah, it is shut down. It is shut down, and Yeah, but God is great still, so we're surviving. It is shut down, but the office is shut down. But I'm sure that company cannot shut down. It was built on good grounds.
Okay,
Yeah.
so great. Let's move on to the next phase of questions, and we hope that things get better and you can go back to business as usual and to developing young people to become entrepreneurs and have a better future in Southern Cameroons. So the rapid fire question, if you've forgotten about this, I'll remind you. It is, I ask you questions and you don't have to think too quickly about them, and then you quickly give a response. So, but this time around, it comes with a twist. Are you ready?
Please.
Okay, so there's no time for pausing to think, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go. What is in your wallet?
What is my wallet?
What is in your wallet?
Well, I have 100 Canadian dollars.
Nice one. A truth you found out for yourself.
I didn't hear that, Pamela. Can you increase your volume?
A truth you found out for yourself through experience.
Yes, I did.
What truth did you find out for yourself through experience? So the question is a truth that you found out for yourself through experience.
Oh yeah, yeah. Self renaissance.
Okay. So what opinion do you hold that most people around you oppose?
Trinity. That Trinity is false.
So hot or cold?
In between.
You need to choose one.
Okay. Should you say hot?
Okay. So burn your current passport or get a French nationality?
Fresh nationality.
It's French nationality.
Nationality or fresh?
French, français,
Please,
nationality.
please, please, please. To do what with that? What was the first thing?
Burn your current passport or get a French nationality.
Yeah, burn current passport.
Cash economy or mobile money?
Mobile money.
What would you tell a displaced young girl now working as a prostitute to survive in Douala?
To go back home.
To what?
Home.
There's no home, it's been burnt down. And so she's
There's
working
no
in
house.
Douala,
There's no house. Home. To go back home.
but she doesn't have work home.
She'll get one. We are there. We're trying. We're identifying them. We cannot do that when they are far away in the lion's den. Go back home.
Okay, so what do you do when you see a Taliban child?
What child?
A Taliban child?
What do I do? Well, I feel sorry and I pray.
Have you been to prison to visit Sisiku Ayuk Tabe?
Yeah, twice.
Okey-doke. Chowayaba or Sako Ikome?
Both.
You have to choose one.
No, I can't choose between two prostitutes. So no one is better. If you ask me, if you keep two prostitutes, these are two brothers. So both.
Okay, so that's the end of the questions. And do you think you would change your answers if you had more time to think about them?
Yeah, perhaps I could change because yeah, I'm not a concrete and cement fixed and set. I could change that.
Okay, so we've kind of like come to the end of this conversation on facing the facts, Abdul Karim. So do you have any final words before we close?
Yeah. I want to thank Daily TV and I want to thank you, Pamela. I think you're doing great. And yeah,
Thank
a lot of
you.
improvement. I followed your last interview with Feli on Congo.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, there's a great improvement from the way you handled me last time. Yeah, I think you're doing so well. Please, I encourage you to continue, and I'm
Thank
so
you.
proud that you're from Southern Cameroons. And I tell for the people of Southern Cameroons, let's not despair. Let's have hope. Let's pray. Let's work as one.
Okay, doke. So thank you very much for joining us, Abdul Karim. Though you're very busy being in Canada, you have a lot of tour to do and work on your hands. And good luck with your tour this March. And I hope that those watching, if you're in Canada, perhaps you could support him by also coming out to listen to him speak. And many thanks to our engaging audience out there. We're grateful to those of you who sent in questions and who have contributed to the discussions with comments. And so we've now come to the end of the show. And so until next time, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Goodbye.